All right, parents, now is the time many students will be taking their yearly assessment tests. You want to make sure that they have all the right tools to succeed. So Heather actually talked to an expert to help you.
Well, parents, we know our kids are busy at school taking standardized tests this time of year. Some of us are curious about what goes on behind the scenes at the companies that create the tests for our state. Joining us this morning is Dr. Kimberly O'Malley, Senior Vice President for Research and Development at Pearson, the company that creates the assessments for Arizona. Doctor, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
So first of all, where are you this morning and what goes on there?
As you can see behind me, I'm at Pearson's Assessment Command Center. We have a state-of-the-art testing facility where our employees, we have about 1,000 who will come to work here today, and those employees work every day to make sure that as students and schools test across the nation and in Arizona, whether it be on paper or on computer, that they have a positive and smooth testing experience.
Well, that's exactly what parents want to hear. Positive and smooth is key. So tell us really, Doctor, what these standardized tests are telling us about our children and their capacity to learn.
Well, I'm a Pearson employee, of course, but I'm also a parent. I have 2 young boys, one in middle school and one in elementary. And for me, I care deeply about what types of assessments that we give our children and how often. And so those standardized tests for me offer that glimpse or that lens into the classroom where I get firsthand information about how my students are learning and how my children are doing in school. Standardized tests offer not only information about student learning, but how they're progressing to those important goals of college and career readiness. They also equip teachers with information, additional information, so they can make those really good instructional decisions and all students can be successful.
So we're talking about more than just a test. We're talking about an experience that the kids are having at school, helping the teachers. So as a parent, of course, I want to help my children to feel more prepared for a test like this. So how do we do that?
The key to preparing for any state assessment is really about the learning. It's the learning that happens every day in the classrooms where the teachers teach and the students learn. So as parents, what we can do is really become engaged with our children's learning, understand what those tests are used for, how the learning progresses throughout the school year. The tests themselves are designed to measure the learning that takes place, so the best preparation is really in the learning.
Excellent. And so being prepared is actually one way we can eliminate some of that stress that our children may be feeling. A lot of times kids do just feel a big amount of stress going into a test like this. Do you have any other recommendations on how we can decrease that stress for them?
As parents, we help all of our children all the time on sort of those big days, things like a football tournament, a school recital. And so with standardized testing, some of the same techniques apply. Things like making sure our children have a good night's sleep, have had a good breakfast, and as my boys head out the door for any standardized assessments, I remind them to read the questions carefully, make sure you understand what is being asked, and check your answers so that you know you've given the best information on that assessment possible.
Definitely some great advice this morning. Now, Doctor, I do want to touch on one quick little issue. I know a lot of parents feel that kids are just being tested too much these days in school. Do you know, is there any effort on kind of decreasing the amount of tests that our children are having to take?
There is. At Pearson, about 30 to 40% of us have worked in schools before as teachers. I'm a former school teacher, as administrators and counselors, and so we embrace this approach of fewer, better assessments. My research team just recently conducted a study where we looked at using learning games for assessment information. So what we've done is have students play with learning games where they're engaged and they're having a great time, and then the information informs about whether or not they're mastering those competencies that we know are important for their future success. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it sounds really great, really exciting. I'm as a parent really interested to see how that progresses. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on today and really clearing up these standardized tests for us and telling us how we can help our children succeed. So where can we go for more information, Doctor?
For some great information about how the tests are built and what happens in a facility like the one I'm in Iowa City, go to pearsonlearningnews.com. Great information there.
Well, we sure will. Doctor, thank you again for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Now don't go anywhere. The Morning Blend will be back after this.